Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're actually going to talk about my trip to Egypt. This is actually going to be a little bit of a travel blog, if you will, specifically regarding my trip to Egypt. I was in Egypt for the past week. All these videos that you've been seeing for the past week and a half-ish, all these videos that you've seen have been scheduled. So I wasn't actually here. I recorded them beforehand, set them to upload, and now I'm here. So I wanted to use this time to go ahead and explain a little about Egypt and kind of give you guys a primer on my experience with it. All right. So first and foremost, just overall in general. In general, I would say Egypt is an extremely safe place to go. If you want to visit Egypt, now is the time, just because prices are a lot cheaper now because of the Egyptian revolution that happened around, or Arab Spring, or whatever you want to call it. The Egyptian revolution that happened there drove tourists away pretty much in droves, and their tourism industry took a huge hit. But now it's kind of trying to recover, and a lot of people think that it's still not safe. I mean, when Becky and I decided to go there, we had both of our families saying, you know, what are you, crazy? Why are you going? It's not safe, etc., stuff like that. You know, but we'd both been to, you know, like our State Department's website. We'd all been reading news articles and making sure, yes, it's actually safe. And we actually do have some friends who live in Egypt, and we're like, yeah, it's perfectly safe at this point. You know, there's nothing stopping you. And so that's what really drove our desire to go ahead and hit Egypt, and not hit Egypt, but to go there and visit Egypt and really experience a place that's been on both of our bucket lists for a while now. So, second thing in general is if you're going to go there, change your money when you get there. You'll get better rates when you get there, and that's a big thing. Third, read up on Egypt. The culture is a bit different. It's a bit different from the United States overall. When you're talking about the people itself, I would say Egyptians are some of the most polite people that I have met in my entire life, and also they're some of the most aggressive people that I've met in my entire life. So it's a little bit of a combination, and if you're not used to it, it might kind of pull you back and might kind of come at you. But just trust me, they're not you know, in it to be malicious or anything like that. That's just part of their culture. And it's funny, visiting Egypt made me understand this Australian Egyptian friend of mine who I always thought was a little bit weird, but once I visited Egypt, I was like, oh, okay, now I understand how he is. And so that's kind of what to expect from the people. And again, read up on the culture, just because there's another important thing called, I think it was bakshish. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, bakshish. I said it and they knew immediately what it was, and I've heard it so many times in my head at this point, but basically it's tipping, and like tipping for a service basically, and that's a pretty big thing in Egypt, especially along the tourist areas, and even not just tourist areas, but using like things in general. Like if you want to use a public bathroom, you better at least have 1 Egyptian pound to tip. It's just a small coin basically. That's pretty much it. Now, conversion rate at this point is like $1 to 7 Egyptian pounds, something like that. So it's, in terms of actual purchasing power, it's actually extremely cheap in Egypt. Yeah, all right. So overall, so we flew to Egypt on Thursday, and or I flew to Egypt on Thursday. From New York. She actually came from Abu Dhabi, where she was at a work conference, and then we met up in Cairo. And in Cairo, we met one of our friends who works for the State Department. They live on a compound in Cairo, so we went ahead and stayed there while we were there in Cairo. So it was pretty fun. We ended up hiring a tour guide who was recommended from one of our friends. This tour guide took us on a tour of parts of Cairo. We ended up going to the Giza pyramids. It was an awesome time. Went to the Giza pyramids, and we ended up, you know, seeing the pyramids. Now the pyramids are right next to the city. It looks like the pyramids are out in this vast desert, and they are in a vast desert. However, the vast desert is right next to the city, so the pyramids are right up against the city. It was it was a little bit warm, not on the hot side, not on too hot side, just because it's still winter-ish right now. But yeah, pyramids were absolutely fantastic. Then we headed back. We took this boat Nile cruise, which was absolutely fantastic as well. So we got some time to, you know, just relax, chill, and have fun with a bunch of friends who were in Egypt. It was just a fantastic time. When we woke up the next morning, we actually went by ourselves with one of our friends, and we went and took a tour of Cairo. So we got to see, what is that market? We got to see this famous market that's right next to this huge mosque, and we went, bought a bunch of spices, glassware. I bought a bunch of new whiskey glasses. We, you know, pretty much just browsed through this huge, gigantic market. Then we went to Coptic Cairo, which was the place where Jesus, Joseph, and Mary kind of went through, hid, and it's a whole bunch of history through there. And had a great time with that. But basically, we toured Egypt, or toured Cairo on that matter. Then the following morning, we woke up really early at like 4 a.m. and took a 4 a.m. flight down to the Aswan Dam, or to Aswan, where we got to go meet another tour guide, tour the dam. Then we took this like little motorboat and toured the Philae Temple, which was pretty much the first temple. We got to learn a ton about, you know, Egypt, the gods, especially where we got pretty much the rundown. So Ra, Isis, Horus, or pretty much those the three main gods, and they've got, you know, a ton more basically, but we got the whole 9 yards basically. And after that, we went to the cruise ship, you know, got checked in, saw our room, which is absolutely fantastic. It was like we could see out. We've got a pretty big room for what we paid for. We paid like $250 for, it was like 3 days, 2 nights or something like that. And we got, what am I looking for? We got a sea view basically, and the boat itself had a pool, buffets, whatever, the whole 9 yards basically. And we took this cruise ship, went to like the Temple of Edfu, the Temple of Kokomo or something like that, and got to see a whole bunch of new cool stuff. Then we ended up in Luxor, saw the Valley of the Kings, Luxor Temple, Karnak Temple. It was just fantastic all around. And then after that, we stayed in the Winter Palace, which is this absolutely fantastic hotel in Luxor. Then we flew back to Cairo, did a little bit more touring, slept, and then flew back to New York. So overall, a fantastic experience. So once again, I would say, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free. Let me know what your questions are on Egypt. It's a very fantastic time, I would say. The people were absolutely friendly and helpful. The culture is definitely one that I would say that if you're coming from the West and it's your first trip out of the United States, I would say definitely read up on it so you know what to expect, because they'll give you a very accurate representation of what you're going to go ahead and encounter. Okay? All right. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to start, you know, releasing some new videos, some new fragrance videos that are upcoming, and that's pretty much it. All right? Take care of yourselves, guys. Have a good one.